Hi, folks. Welcome to the video. We'll delve into two topics initially may look a little unrelated. One is the propaganda which is working through the movies like Kerala cinema, which talks about missing women from Kerala, and considering another demographic or a socio-economic concept of missing women, where I would like to argue that about 15 million odd people or women are missing in Uttar Pradesh and about 5 million are missing in Gujarat. Propaganda has a huge influence on the perception. Kerala story started with a number called 32,000. They claimed that 30,000 women had moved from Kerala to Middle East to support the ISIS. As soon as the court came down on them, they quickly said it's three and the rest is fiction. 3 and 30,000 is humongously different, right? But the damage had already been done. The propaganda machinery, right from the news channels, Twitter at one end to the local levels of Facebook and WhatsApp, have already started circulating this information. Influencers were adding fuel to the fire to this propaganda. The damage is done both for Kerala and for the Muslim community, right? Now, it's very important when we get such information that we ask the question and uncover the motivation and also the numbers. And that's a very key part when we get information these days. Let us turn into something else, the idea of gender disparity. One of the ways to measure gender disparity is missing women, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, right? And we will also talk about how to get this data and analyze it and see why we think there are lots of women who are missing in both Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. We should analyze what the propaganda films like Kerala movies does to us, right? It is made in a very low budget. Then it's deliberate in trying to create division and hatred. It's got lots of false information and it drives a kind of narrative which will actually create a public opinion which will be divisive, and it creates this atmosphere of hostility. Research by Manohar Parikar, Defense Institute, article by Prem Shankar Jha in Wired, or the analysis of Dovrati, and even the court's observation clearly indicate not even 200 people sympathized with ISIS over the long history, let alone 32,000 from Kerala, right? So probably there have been a few incidents like that, but to take a few incidents and convert that into how the Muslims operate or how it gets operational in Kerala is is clearly an idea of creating a shock value and distribute that through a means of propaganda, right? Now, how did we arrive at a 15 million missing women for Uttar Pradesh or 5 million for Gujarat? If we assume that the missing women's definition is that the sex ratio should be about 1,000, which has clear academic and analytical evidences, take that the sex ratio of Kerala, which is about 1,000, close to 1,100, and put that in Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat, you will be able to find a number, and that number is a staggering 15 million for Uttar Pradesh and 5 million. What it tells us is because this is discrimination, both in socially, culturally, healthcare, nutrition, and there is choices made where people make choices to have male instead of females. It goes back to we go back and see that there are less women than which we see in places where the discrimination is less, right? And that's how we arrive at this number 15 million and 5 million. These are not numbers from thin air. It is based on the idea that the sex ratio is abysmally low for both Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. There are many other states like that, including Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, where it's quite low. The closer it is to 1,000, and if it goes above 1,000, it is a good number to be seen, right? One could go and read some of these sex ratios, and I'll also put a link for that in, and it's available even in Wikipedia, right? So, is this only one evidence? It's not true. What I will do is I'll also drop some numbers and also share some numbers. Whether you look at a maternity mortality rate, that means how many mothers die during the childbirth. That's really abysmally low again or high in this regard in case of Uttar Pradesh, because there are more women who die during birth than in Kerala. It's 4 times higher, right? Look at another thing: the literacy gap, the male literacy versus female literacy. Literacy itself is a good number. Female literacy itself is a very good number to understand gender disparity. But the difference between the male and female also indicate the sort of discrimination. The male and the female literacy rates in Kerala is much smaller as compared to the one in Uttar Pradesh. If you look at all of these, whether the maternal mortality rate is an indication of healthcare, male and female literacy is an of indication of disparity in the culturally, and maybe women are not being sent more often to studies and to become literate. It clearly indicates there's gender disparity. So the sex ratio is not the only data. One could go back and look at rates like child marriages. One could also go back and look at other matrices. One could choose a gender disparity metric and go back and have a look at these. Registers dowry deaths, women participating in labor, etc. All of these will indicate that Kerala stands very tall. So, in that sense, I'm arguing that using the sex ratio and Amartya Sen's paper, that the 15 million women are actually missing in Uttar Pradesh and 5 million in Gujarat. I am no expert in the topic of gender disparity, and I must say that it's there are many experts who have done lots of work around it. What mattered to me is that I could go and have a look at this information and see the consistency in it. So I took Amartya Sen's topic of missing women and looked at clear evidence around it. And then I tried to triangulate with other topics like maternal mortality rate, which says healthcare. And I could go back and look at literacy rates and see why Kerala is way ahead. And Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat and even other states like Punjab and Haryana are way behind this, right? So you take an information and triangulate with others to see if there is consistency in the conclusions we are making, right? Unlike in a propaganda firm, there is really no consistency. And that's exactly how propaganda works. It has got a shock value, and then you are expected to be shocked and awed about it, and then it changes our perception about it, right? So it's very important for all of us, especially when the propaganda is in its peak, that we question information which is coming to us and triangulate it with other sources.